Good afternoon. Thank you all for your splendid participation in this forum. The quality of everybody's contribution has been outstanding. People have come from all over the world to tell us about their experience in positive economy, and they have helped us draft our roadmap for the future. I would also like to thank all those who have participated by asking questions, thus enlivening our discussion. Everybody has contributed with further ideas, with proposals, stimulating also our work in this. I think that the forum can close by stating that our goals that we had listed in the first 2 years are valid goals, and it is along those lines that we must continue to work. They were all contained in the 2014-2015 agenda of the forum. They were actions contained in the 6 areas that had been singled out: the area of individual people, the area of finance, contribution to the economy, public administration, and the environment. Let's see what we've achieved, because when you draw the conclusions of a forum, it's always fascinating to be able to sort of see what we've got on the bottom line, as it were. The Minister Padoan reminded us of the concrete actions that the government has enacted and implemented recently. I won't go over that. I won't go over all the actions that the minister has already listed. Just a few of them, though, I'd like to reiterate. The Jobs Act, which created hundreds of thousands of new jobs. The minister said this, and the Undersecretary Bobba also said that. Then the government has created the Anti-Corruption Agency. The government has also enacted plans aimed at simplifying the public administration, red tape, simplifying red tape in this country. And it has also introduced a new code for the awarding of public procurement tenders, and this will enter into force on the 18th of April. So these are just some of the actions, the concrete actions, that the government has taken. What are the next steps in relation to these 6 areas that we have singled out as the areas where we should concentrate our energies? As far as people are concerned, individuals, Italy is not in a very good position as far as family policies or in terms of policies, demographic policies, policies promoting childbirth and support for mothers and parents. So there has been a positive development in the field of microcredit. This has granted credit in vastly increased quantities, and as soon as possible we should be able to have an act determining how the fund of 200 million euros in support of investments in social enterprises can be implemented. Then it will be necessary also to consolidate the experience of B Corp enterprises. And we must remember that our country, after the United States, was the second country in the world that legislated on B Corps. B Corps, that is, companies which, alongside a mission to create a profit, have a social mission and a social objective. We must also be able to pass enactment laws aimed at simplifying and making more effective the public administration, cutting the red tape. And in the field of the environment, we've got to enact the national plan that is consistent with the commitments undertaken in Paris at COP21. So these are the conclusions of our forum and the proposals for future actions for this year. So next year, we will check and monitor what's been done. We will check these same areas, and we will elaborate a new roadmap for the achievement of further goals. But apart from these conclusions, which are the conclusions of the forum, this year we thought that there is another area which we had already singled out in past years, but where we haven't actually been active yet. And this is the area related to the indicators of economic development. Indicators we felt that are needed, that need to be complementary to the GDP in order to overthrow, as it were, the GDP dictatorship, which is a dictatorship of indicators that are based only on the short term. Now, for this reason, we decided to draft some guidelines which we will follow in the next few weeks in order to draft a manifesto. We want to promote this manifesto in order to send a clear message to national and international institutions and to political parties. We want to ask them to commit firmly in support of a sustainable and inclusive economic development, a manifesto to foster the spread of a patient capitalism, a capitalism as opposed to the short-term capitalism, which has not provided any of the answers needed to address the global economic and financial crisis. A manifesto centered on the notion of a positive economy, promoting the well-being and prosperity of future generations. Positive economy means all those actions undertaken by businesses, governments, schools and universities, NGOs, communities, and civil society that aim at preparing a better future for those who will come after us. An idea of economy that is already today an integral part of our national system. Because there is a virtuous Italy, one that is all too often neglected and underestimated, the Italy of voluntary organizations, of social enterprises, of cooperatives, of everything that is called third sector. It plays a crucial role in our economy. It's worth more than 77% of our GDP and provides services that often include care of people in need, thereby reducing the state's burden and meeting the needs of our society's weaker sectors. Unfortunately, institutions do not always respond appropriately to the requirements of the third sector, and in some cases, despite the complicit silence of our national and European political representatives, decisions taken are offensive, not only to those who are active in the third sector, but offensive to any honest citizen. The gross domestic product appears to have become the only instrument used to assess the well-being of a national economy. Since 2014, in drafting the financial statements that will be used to calculate the GDP, the European Union member states are obliged to include also the revenues from illicit activities, such as drug trafficking and prostitution. It's hard to believe it, but voluntary work is not included in the calculation. This is nonsensical and an insult to our intelligence, but it's also an insult to the conscience of most human beings. It's an example of all that is wrong with the existing system that promotes divisiveness and social exclusion, instead of supporting virtuous processes of inclusion. The GDP dictatorship, for example, rewards those countries where, with a comparable healthcare system, the costs of medicines that citizens have to pay for are higher. For many years now, many economists and intellectuals have suggested alternative tools and models to be used to evaluate how healthy an economy is. Alternative and complementary, I would say, because the GDP will continue to be necessary. So these are new indicators that can also highlight the social impact of businesses and their effects on communities, on distressed people, such as the poor, immigrants, the sick. There are already valid international examples to look at. There are many experiences, examples, such as the positive economy indices devised by Jacques Attali and the BES, which is calculated by the Italian Statistics Office, although this latter one appears to be too complicated, which is why public decision makers rarely refer to it. But the time has come to change. The economy of a country, i.e. its health, needs to be calculated based on indicators capable of analyzing the quality of life of that country, the efficiency of its justice system, the level of environmental protection, its capacity to monitor the use of its natural resources, its level of social and gender inclusion. With this manifesto, we call on national institutions to change their habits, to start promoting the affirmation of new models, such as positive economy, circular economy, civil economy, in line with the goals of the UN 2030 agenda. We believe that more needs to be done to overthrow the dictatorship of the gross domestic product. For this reason, the main aims of our manifesto, of our future manifesto against the GDP dictatorship, will be to examine and adopt other instruments complementary to the GDP in calculating the well-being of a national economy, to include the activities derived from voluntary work in calculations of a country's GDP as evidence of the economic contribution provided by these important elements of the national economy. And lastly, to ask very clearly that national institutions act with determination in order to ensure that the revenue from illicit activities is no longer included in Eurostat's GDP calculation. So this is the text that we plan to share with all those who want to sign it and are committed to a vision of the positive economy that requires tools if we are to properly build it up. And I think that these tools as complementary to the GDP, will help us allow this notion of positive economy to develop, to consolidate, and to provide the answers that we so desperately need today. The answers we need in order to guarantee a better future for the future generations. I would stop here and I would ask Antonio
I'll ask Antonio to join me up here at the rostrum, and he will give you a little bit of a preview into what next year's forum will look like. Again, thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for having been here, participated, and a specific thanks to San Patrignano, who really did fabulous work to make sure that this forum was a success. Thank you again.
Allora, grazie.
Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you, Jacques Attali. Thank you for the positive economy movement that chose San Patrignano once again. Thanks from the bottom of our heart to Letizia, of course, for her sensitivity, her foresightedness in starting this movement. And now we have been able to put it into a concrete form, and thank you so much. And of course, she is so wonderful in everything that she does in making it take some concrete form. And especially a great thanks to all of those panel members who brought so much to our discussions. They taught us things, they gave us great breadth and depth. And also thank you to all of the young men and women who are here and for their experience and of course their significant and great pertinence. Thank you to all of those who assisted us. Thank you for those that were active in the technical aspects, the associations, the banks. Thank you to all of those who continue to believe in this movement that is so pertinent today. Thank you to you. And thank you for the fact that you're going to continue to train yourselves, to work hard, to ask for projects. Every commitment that we take is a step towards doing something for you. Everything we do is for you and for the world of the future. So we ask you to continue to make your commitment and effort. And when you take a second to stop on this street in San Patrignano and you ask me, Antonio, when are you going to be able to do something for me? Well, that always gives me such great hope for the future. So please keep working on your studies, your training, and your projects. And of course, continue to engage in what you hope to achieve. We have a year now, a year available to us to do what we would like to do, to gain that wisdom. So let's make some concrete efforts now. And next year, in 2017, we will have another chance to all meet together for this Positive Economy Forum, and there will be 3 subjects that are going to be so great and that we hold dear to us here. So, positive agriculture, sustainable development, amongst other important subjects. Thank you.